at manufacturer level, companies who were fighting with each other on a daily basis over decades are suddenly joining forces.
Can you tell us how did Mercedes-Benz evolve over the last 30 years?
It was, or it is still, an amazing history, and I thought about that for a long time now, because we have today product offerings which basically covers all customer segments, if you will. Yeah? We have an entry-level product, which in its class is at the highest level, and obviously we have the other side of the spectrum, which are products of the Maybach brand, and obviously the fully armored vehicles. Now, if I go back when I started, life was much easier. Complexity was easier. Yeah, we had basically, we had an E-Class, we had an S-Class, we had the coupe versions. Yeah, there was no SUV except the G-Class. Yeah, which obviously has kept its iconic status, or has grown into an iconic status over the last 30 years.
Actually, on that, I have a bit of a question. Yeah. When it comes to you're saying it used to be a few models, and then now it's the 27 models. What are some ways someone would go about offering this to a customer?
Well, first of all, look at the size of our showroom. Yeah, I mean, my aim is, or our aim is, to basically say we have to have all the models on display. That gives us the possibility to showcase all 27 models. And mind you, our business model requires to have the cars there. We have to communicate much more differently than we communicated earlier. Yeah. And this is also talking about the development of the brand. I remember when we launched the ML to the Latin American markets at the end of the 90s. We had huge debates because some of our partners in the market would say, you have to advertise the price. They said, guys, this is one of the biggest no-nos in Mercedes-Benz. We don't advertise the price. This is about the brand and the product. It's not about the price. I mean, today, that has completely changed. Yes. If we don't advertise an offer, yeah, unless you talk about a GT four-door or you talk about a G-Class, yeah, you have to advertise a deal. Yes. Yeah. After my contract was over in Miami for Latin America, I moved back to Stuttgart, but I was part of the Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge organization for overseas, which at that time was integrated also into Stuttgart with Daimler Chrysler. And obviously, when I heard about the merger, my first reaction was, I never work for Chrysler. Yeah, and the next thing you know, yeah, I'm working for them. But in hindsight, it was probably one of my most exciting times. On the one hand, we had lots of fun, and on the other hand, I learned a lot about marketing and communication. Because, you know, you come from a brand where they tell you, you cannot put a price on an ad, to if you don't advertise with a price, you're not going to sell. The business model for Daimler was always, and still is today to a certain extent, the same. They develop cars, they test them, they produce them, and they then sell them to the network. Yeah? With that, they have to make the money, they have to make enough money to make the shareholders happy and to continue to invest in the future. Mercedes is a very intrusive franchise, which is good because they support you on the one hand. Even when times are good, you know, they want you to do better. But they're also there when there's difficult times. And that's the key to it, because it's very easy to be saying we're great partners and everything works well, the sun is shining and the sky is blue when sales are growing. Yeah? The real test is when things get difficult.
A lot of the manufacturers obviously working on case. I'm particularly interested about what's your views on CASE, but also how is EMC gearing up towards the future with CASE being in place?
For me, the discussion is very dominated by governments, which is very good because that means they have them on the agenda, they have the subject on the agenda, and the manufacturers. Yeah? On all the mobility forums in the past, these were the lecturers. Yeah? You had from government, you had from manufacturers, you had from suppliers. I think we're now all experts of the 5 levels of automated driving, and we know that we're more or less going into level 3 now, and we're going to be in level 5 in such and such year, etc. But interesting enough, the consequences, or what does that mean for the dealers in this region, is not an agenda item. And I hope this becomes an agenda item, because obviously it goes hand in hand with the business model we were talking about. Yeah, I personally think the business model will change with CASE, yeah, and it's already changing. I mean, if you go through the 4, yeah, C is already happening. Mercedes-Benz already offers the opportunity to connect your vehicle through the Mercedes Me app with the Hey Mercedes. We are not only the trendsetter but also the leaders in that, and others will follow. I'm sure, but we're already there. The e-mobility, obviously, everybody talks about it as well. All the manufacturers are developing fully electric vehicles. That will be a train which will not be able to be stopped. The question for me is this really the solution? Is e-mobility really the solution? Some people from abroad will look at the Middle East and say, why do you need electric cars? You have enough oil. Yeah, that's still, and your gasoline is really cheap. Now, you can laugh about that, but at the end of the day, it is still somehow a reality. But then the other thing is where you source all the electricity from. If suddenly you have hundreds of thousands of cars being charged every night from 8 to 4 o'clock in the morning, the grid needs to take that. So the solution is a best of both worlds, and best of both worlds is for me the plug-in hybrid solution, because it gives you the opportunity to drive in the city without gasoline consumption. But if you want to go on a long distance and you not have to worry about, is there a charging station on my way? Do I have to stop for 30 minutes and 3 coffees until my car is charged? No, I still have my range of 500 to 600 or 700 kilometers with gasoline. The driving pleasure is still there. The sound of the engine is still there. Yeah, and this is highly debated. Yeah, a fully electric car sounds like a tram. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're talking about, even on the radio, and about sound features. And the other day on Dubai, they were joking about, you can have a ringtone for your car. We know a fully electric car does require much less maintenance and spare parts. So we're looking at it saying, what will that mean for our workshop in Musafa, which still is the biggest Mercedes-Benz workshop? Yeah.
A series of articles actually that you posted on LinkedIn. I think the first one you posted in January this year, and then you had a follow-up series of 3 called Strengthening the Core Business. And you kind of looked at it and you talked about how we have to adjust to the new realities in the market. And you talked about 3 essential parts. So the first one was looking at just sales. The second part was profitability. And the last part was right sizing. How has, if you had to give commentary on how things have evolved in the market this year, can you maybe give us a little bit of perspective on that? And also maybe talk about those 3 points that you had mentioned in the articles.
Good news is that we have been growing our business from January, or actually from earlier. But we also have to admit that the first part of 2018 was not necessarily a strong first half year. We had VAT introduction in January 2018. You had a lot of customers, the ones who were on the market definitely would buy cars in November, December 17. So you had that pull effect you had. Yeah, that obviously affected sales in 2018. So I mean, we're obviously marketing it as a good news that we sell more than in the first half of 2018, but let's be realistic, yeah? We are trying to operate at a new level of the market, whatever that market is, yeah? And we're trying to go back to basics. So we're trying to control our stocks, yeah? Don't have too much stocks. It is a challenge with 27 different models because you have to manage 27 different stock levels. Yeah? You have cars coming from the US, you have cars coming from South Africa, you have cars coming from Europe. Yeah? These differences you all need to take into consideration, which we're doing, so we're doing that. We obviously are trying to manage our costs, yeah? Because you know, if 1 year you sell, I don't know, 5,000 and the other year you sell only 3.5, that has an effect. Yeah?
Yes.
And this is what we're adjusting. Yeah. So we're looking at what can we do better in terms of efficiencies. Yeah, and that is especially true for our service operation and our parts operation.